Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is patch 13.11 notes rundown. Now, this was supposed to be a pretty meaningless patch, but I think with what is going on, obviously, with LCS news, as you guys might have been following with the walk-off right now, LCS competitive is not resuming. LCK competitive is resuming next week, and LEC resumes on, I believe, the 17th. So, with all the delays and everything, I'm not actually sure what competitive patch some of the tournaments actually start on. And so all of a sudden, what should have actually just been 13.10 really setting the meta for everything, and then 13.12, 13.14, 13.16 being the trend that we all follow. I'm not sure if 13.11 now ends up being something that we actually have to pay attention to. So with that in mind, let's get right into it. So Rell, we aren't going to go into Rell. I already evaluated her mid-scope update. That is in a separate video that's on my main League of Legends YouTube channel, so you guys can check that one out there. And, okay, we go into Akali. So, Akali, Q-based damage decreased. Okay, Q, 5-point strike, magic damage, 30 to 130, 65% AD, 60% AP, 240 to 140. Wait, it's buffed. It's not decreased, it's increased. Okay, so it's actually increased, it's not decreased. All right, so we got a typo here on the official Riot site. So it says that she's struggling, so obviously they're trying to increase it. Now, the thing about this is that typically Akali can weave in 2 Qs during her trades, so this is not just a 10 flat damage buff, this is typically a 20 in most cases. This can obviously affect her wave clear, and because it's a 20, depending on how many times she actually does this inside of a laning phase, you're starting to talk about numbers about like 100. Now, magic resistance is typically a lot lower than armor, and so you're actually talking about a pretty sizable amount of increased damage inside of laning phase, and that does help Akali actually reach lethal. This is a pretty sizable buff, I think, when all things considered. Amumu, W damage decreased. W despair. Base damage takes 0.5 seconds, 10 to 7. So it really just seems like they are not able to make up their minds on what they want Amumu to do. He's been in and out of the patches for several patches now, and they just can't decide what they want him to do. That's really just where it's at right now. He's going to land in roughly the same spot. Aphelios, passive bonus AD decrease. Passive, the Hitman and the Seer, 5 to 30, 4.5 to 27. This is a byproduct of the MSI patch. This is because of his popularity on MSI. They obviously did not let him settle on 13.10. So now with, you know, everything going on right now, it just feels a little bit bad. I feel like they should have let the itemization settle and then seen where Aphelios would end up there. Aurelion Sol, E mana cost increased, magic damage to AP ratio decreased. Mana cost 60 to 100, 80 to 100. Magic damage per tick 0.25 seconds, 2.5 to 7.5 to 2.5 to 7.55% AP. So 6.2.5% AP. So they actually nerfed the AP percent by 1.2.5% per tick. And that is, I mean, that's quite sizable. So they're nerfing his AP, and the mana cost ends up going all the way back up once you finally get final points in it, but that doesn't happen until rank 13. Now, the other thing about it is that some Aurelion Sols do put 2 points into the E early on in order to have better wave clear thresholds, right? And in those instances, you actually do get hit pretty hard. That is a 15 increase to the mana cost, and that is a problem when you consider all the other nerfs that Aurelion Sol has had. Now, I did end up looking at Aurelion Sol win rate because I am just so perplexed by how this champion just keeps getting hit, because we don't see him in competitive, and it really just is that he is a pub stomper, and that is why he just keeps showing up in these patch notes and stuff, and it's just a really unfortunate situation. Azir, Q cooldown decreased, summon range increased, AP ratio increased. So if you guys remember, they shifted Azir from being a Q poke mage to having to be a lot more intelligent with his W usage and not just being able to spam his Q. And that was the change to his laning phase. They changed a lot about that. So the Q Conquering Sands cooldown 14 to 6, now 12 to 6. So it ends up being the same thing later on, but the thing is that you max his W now first. So you're just getting 2 seconds off of his Q early on, which is really big for mid-game fights because you won't have all the points in them at first or second dragon, which is it's quite noticeable. You might, end up getting an extra Q off, or maybe even 2, depending on how extended the team fight is. And that might be somewhat nice, I guess. W Arise summon range is going up by 0.25, and then the magic damage is also going up by 5% AP, which is not the end of the world. Ivern, Q follow-up adjusted, cast range increase, now refunds cooldown when used on non-epic monsters. W adjusted now gives allies bonus on-hit damage, vision from spawn duration increased, brushed despawn conditions changed, E-shield now refreshes if no enemies were hit by the detonation. Daisy Satch adjusted, slam damage increased. So they actually even buffed Daisy. So here's the prediction. Ivern is broken on release. So this Ivern is already one of the best champions in the game, just no one plays him. He's absolutely insane in mid lane. He's able to go even and virtually versus pretty much every single mid laner in the game right now at a competitive level, depending on different rune and itemization starts. And inside of the jungle, he also does have a lot of very viable matchups where it's very difficult to get ahead of Ivern, and he has a lot of synergy. So in that regard, it's very scary. Now, Ivern obviously has some bottom lane pairings where he's also viable in bottom lane, where he's able to have like some kind of like weird, wonky, abusive pairings with like Rengar and stuff. And that combo has appeared actually in scrims in LEC, in, you know, Spring Split, and even in yesteryears. That did end up happening. I think even ERLs. So Ivern, with these changes, is probably set to get nerfed in 13-12. That is my immediate prediction. I think if he doesn't get nerfed in 13-12 and somehow doesn't get nerfed in 13-13, something is just like really, really wrong, because it would not make any sense, because this champion is now just going to be absolutely nuts. Maybe because of his popularity, he just doesn't actually get picked. I would be very, very, very shocked. So the root caller, the cast range now is now going up by 50, which is really nice. Q's cooldown is now reduced by 50% when used on non-epic monsters. That is disturbing that now they're even giving him more mobility inside of the jungle. W Brushmaker, the ally on hit damage is 5 to 15 plus 10% of Ivern's AP. So now you're even starting to get like AP builds being viable. So now like Rod of Ages starts to become like a viable build path or something on Ivern, where you can make him somewhat like of a bruiser if you want to go that direction. Brush spawn duration 3 to 8 seconds. I mean, that's absolutely disgusting as well. That makes absolutely no sense. For sieges, standoffs, checking neutral objectives, and all this other stuff. Brush duration 30 seconds up to a maximum of 45 seconds, or until your team loses vision inside of them. So obviously you have 8 seconds brush spawn vision duration. So okay, up to a maximum of 45 seconds, or until your team loses vision inside of them. So okay, so actually, wait a second. So you gain 8 seconds, then you have to step inside of it. Now, okay. Or exiting the brush for 3 seconds. So how long? So I'm going to have to go into practice tool, I guess. So maybe mid lane Ivern actually is still dead. So if you need to place wards inside of his brushes, I'm not sure if mid lane Ivern is actually still going to function. If that's the case, then he is just going to be jungle Ivern. And while these buffs still are going to be really, really, really good, it is going to be a little bit sad that it's not going to be as strong, because you're only going to have, you know, 8 seconds inside of the bush, being able to weave in and out of it without losing vision before the bush would end up dissipating, right? Auto attacks empowered with Blessmation now have a special visual effect to reflect on hit damage. Okay. Trigger Seed. If when the shield detonates, there are no enemies that are hit by the detonation, the shield has not been broken, the duration of the shield is renewed. This is amazing for protect team compositions. And it's also amazing for reapplying a buff application. That is really like what that is all about. This allows you to get more afflictions up with supportive items. And Ivern got a lot of indirect buffs because a lot of the items that he ends up building supportive-wise ended up getting buffed on 13-10. So there's a lot of things going on that is not just the 13-11 Ivern changes, there's also all the 13-10 changes that happen indirectly to him, which was the items. Daisy attack range is up by 50. Daisy HP regen, now she has HP regen, which is really big for laning. Daisy movement speed, 420 to 440. 420, she actually didn't have 420, she had 419. So I don't know why they wrote 420. But anyways, so she had 419, went to 440. Daisy's attack speed 0.7 to 0.75. Daisy bonus attack speed is down. That's fine. Daisy slam 100% of Daisy's AD to plus 20% AP to 40 to 80 plus 100% of Daisy's AD Oh, okay. So it's just okay. So it has a flat plus 100% of Daisy's AD. Okay. And then the AP. Okay. So Daisy's just also outright buffed. This is really big. Jinx. Attack speed growth decreased. All right, not gonna really matter at all. I mean, they're just doing this. Arcane Season 2, guys, you know, probably gonna be like unveiled at Worlds or something, like maybe a preview. Kalista, base health increased. Health regeneration increased. Attack damage increased. Passive vision interaction adjusted. On-hit damage increased. Q damage increased. E cooldown decreased. Damage adjusted. Okay, base stat. 574 to 600. Health regeneration 3.75 to 4. Health regeneration growth 0.55 to 0.75. Attack damage 66 to 61. Attack damage growth 0.75 to 3.25. Passive martial poise. Okay, damage dealt on hit 90% of total AD to 100%. Q pierce physical damage is now going up by 5% of her total AD, and then E rend, the cooldown is 8% at all ranks, which is massive. Physical damage per extra sack is going to go down. Oh no, it's actually going to go. Okay, so the flat damage is going to go down, but as long as you have tons of AD, I imagine there's a breakpoint. So Freak's patch rundown video is probably going to have the math on this that will end up showing like where rend ends up working. So that's obviously going to be good. So, okay. That's it for the Kalista changes. Rek'sai, passive refresh rate increased, heal increased, Q unburrow cooldown now decreases with rank, buff duration decreased, attack refresh, buff duration. Okay, passive Fury of the Xerxai, tremor reset refresh rate 1.5 seconds to 1 second, heal maximum Fury 20 to 190 based on level to 15 plus 20 for every 3 levels, plus 2% max HP for every 3 levels. Okay, so later on in the game, it's just well, I mean, it is just a buff to Rek'sai. Even if Rek'Sai is going glass cannon, it ends up being a buff. But obviously, if Rek'Sai is being like Bruiser or Rek'Sai is being like Tank or something, it's a massive buff in the later stages. Q. Queen's Wrath Unburrowed. Cooldown 4 seconds at all levels to 4 to 2 seconds based on rank. Buff duration 5 to 3 seconds. Hit and buff. Basic attacks now refresh the buff duration of Queen's Wrath. Remove not so fast. Q's buff no longer ends prematurely if Rek'Sai is burrowed for more than 1.5 seconds. Okay. Q's Wrath burrowed real duration 2.5 seconds to 5 seconds. That's really big. These are nice quality of life changes to Rek'Sai. I don't think that it does anything to propel Rek'Sai into the meta. Renekton, E cooldown decreased, R cooldown decreased, magic damage increased. E slice and dice, the cooldown is just going down by a flat 2 seconds, and that is absolutely magnificent for Renekton. R dominus cooldown is going down, so at rank 2, it's down by 20 seconds. So now you'll have it up basically every single team fight for sure, in between rank 2 and rank 3, whenever, you know, you do end up casting it. I mean, there's not going to be any question about that. The magic damage per tick is going to be, okay, so the magic damage per tick is 25, 50, 75 to 30, 60, and 90. Now remember, this scales with AD. So the magic damage is going up. It scales with AD. They're just buffing Renekton. And as long as you are continuing to build full lethality Renekton, you're building full damage Renekton, Renekton is still good. If you are building Gore Drinker on Renekton and all that stuff, then Renekton is going to be bad. Twisted Fate, W cooldown decrease no longer decreases with rank. W, pick a card, 8 to 6 seconds to 6 seconds at all ranks. This is very, very big. This is so ridiculously big because this buffs all iterations of Twisted Fate. Now, Rapid Fire Cannon got buffed, Trinity Force got buffed. Those are both AD Twisted Fate variation builds. Now the W, pick a card gets buffed, which is also an AD variation of Twisted Fate. So I'm really curious, like, if Nemesis remembers AD Twisted Fate. I would be very keen on seeing, like, what Nemesis's thoughts would be on AD Twisted Fate in the current scheme of things with all of the indirect buffs to the items, the buffs that Twisted Fate got over the years, and now, like, the changes to Twisted Fate's Q, the changes to Twisted Fate's W, the buffs that his E ended up getting a while ago, and now the buffs to, you know, all the AD Twisted Fate items that have ended up happening over the years as well. That's one of the first things that immediately comes to mind. Now, even for AP Twisted Fate, this is also a really, really, really big buff. I mean, there's no way to really go about it. You don't need to, I mean, if you don't need the enhanced damage now and you don't need the cooldown, you're now able to actually just put points into E depending on certain situations. So there's more flexibility. I think Twisted Fate is actually going to be a champion that we're going to see a lot in summer. Ardent Censor, bonus attack speed 15 to 30 to 20%. That's a nerf for the item. Duskblade of Drakthar. Okay, Duskblade is overshadowed by its purpler sibling. Night Stalker, bonus ability damage, 0 to 15% based on target's missing health to 0 to 20% based on target's missing health. Okay. All right, maximum bonus damage threshold 20% remaining to 30% remaining. Okay, Echoes of Helia, passive healing per shard 20 to 100 to 20 to 80, level 6 to 18. Okay, passive damage per shard 30 to 200 to 30 to 180. So they're nerfing the item a little bit. Now this item, it is really good, but at the same time, it's very gated into like certain runes and very specific champions, which is totally fine. And I think that that is how it is, just like designed to be. And I think that that's perfectly okay. Galeforce. Despite popular opinion heading into the patch, turns out Galeforce is indeed strong. Okay, active damage, 150 to 350 based on level, 250% crit, to 150 to 350 based on level, 200% crit chance. Okay, maximum execution damage, 160 to 150. Okay, Kraken Slayer. All right. Damage type magical to physical, and that is going to be a nerf to the item for everyone that rushes it, because obviously physical resistances are higher early. So for everyone that rushes Kraken Slayer, you're actually going to end up hitting for a little bit less. Change 20 plus 60% AD, 45% AP to 35 to 85. Levels 8 to 18 plus 65% AD plus 60. Wait, what? Okay, so wait, maybe it's actually just buffed. Wait. So we're switching Kraken Slayer to Defense of Magic. Because champions have more armor than magic resistance. This necessitates an increase in the number to power neutral. In addition, we're looking to buff Kraken Slayer. Okay, so yeah, this is a buff, and I'm like confused. Okay, now Kraken will deal more damage to minions in all contacts. Typically deal more damage after building some form of armor penetration. Otherwise, the numbers. Okay, all right. Moonstone Renewer. Moonstone Renewer is weaker compared to the other support item Mythic, so we want to bring it more in line so it feels like a choice worth making. We're planning to do this by doubling up on healing in order to making it more useful tool for champions to buy, namely healers. We also fixed the bug of Moonstone not visually reflecting the chain and another where the AoE shield was not functioning properly. So this item, I really do think it's still just dead. The chain heal 20 to 35% based on allies level to 20 to 40% based on allies level. It doesn't matter because it's such a pitiful number, and the problem is that the shield ends up dissipating, right? Or the shield just doesn't get chewed through. The single heal 15 to 25% to 15 to 30%, that is also a very small, it's a small number, but like the heal is a little bit more acceptable, but now you're talking about like very few champions in the game that actually heal allies, right? You're very, very, very few because the item doesn't actually heal itself anymore. If the item still healed itself and it still had this ability, okay, that would be something, even if it was very minor, but that's not what happens anymore. So this item is so pitiful now. I don't know. I've never seen this item once moused over its numbers and ever saw it eclipse 1K. I've never seen this item break 1,000 ever in any game. It just did not seem what the circumstances were. This item just always seemed like a joke. Navori Quickblades, attack damage 60 to 65, ability haste 20 to 15, transcendent cooldown, cooldown reduction 12 to 15, mythic pass 5, ability haste 5 attack damage. So I think this is a nerf. I feel like the ability haste is actually more valuable than the attack damage, no? Now it's saying that it's fallen behind in terms of its brethren, but I think that that's because of its champions that it's tied to, not because of the item itself. So it seems really weird. They're removing some of its ability haste and they're giving it more damage, but I feel like they need to do other stuff to it than just this. Because obviously they need to look at the champions that are building it. Runaan's Hurricane, the on-hit damage is getting nerfed actually quite considerably, okay. Statikk Shiv, energized damage, 60 to 170 plus 50% AP to 80 to 190 plus 50% AP. So this will be a sizable buff to all the people that are just rushing it. Damage to minions modifier is up by 30%. Yeah, it really still just does feel like a pretty useless item in most cases where it is getting built. And yeah, it just doesn't feel like it's hitting the spot yet, but maybe that change will end up doing it. Stormrazor, attack damage 55 to 50, change 25 plus 65% total AD, 50% to 50, okay, 15. So Stormrazor is getting nerfed, which I do think that this is fine. 60% total AD. Okay, so Stormrazor is basically the best item in the game. And the reason is because you build this first, you get mixed damage, and that is the biggest problem with it. You get so many different stats. and it's mixed damage. And so everyone is building it in so many different roles right now because of that. You get so many different stats, and you get mixed damage. And so they are nerfing it. They're bringing the numbers down a little bit. Youmuu's Ghostblade. Ability haste is going to be down by 5. Bonus lethality and maximum stacks 8 to 20 to 3 to 12 based on level. And then distance per stack 45 to 55. Okay, so the item is getting nerfed a little bit, but this item is still going to be a solo queue god. Just because the active of the item and the fact that it's still going to be a mythic, it's going to come with its passive and everything, and that is going to be good. Buff sharing. So, buff sharing has been pretty similar since the dawn of League. You get your first 2 or 3 buffs, then your mid laner or ADC start thinking they deserve them. Can you believe it? The nerve of those laners. In the current state, there is pressure for junglers to give up their buffs at their own expense. Well, this creates some social friction and coordination challenges. Our goal with the introduction of buff sharing is to reduce the feels bad moments when junglers have to give up their buffs. This should help junglers feel like they take control over their own jungle while still letting them be a team player and help out those needy laners. When a jungler kills red, brown, black, or blue sentinel while their smite is fully upgraded, so primal smite, they will still receive the camp's buff. But in addition, buff wisp will be dropped at the camp's spawn point. An ally can pick it up by walking within the wisp radius within 1 minute of the camp dying before it disappears. So this is Ivern. You do not need smite at the camp at any time in order for the buff wisp to drop, but smite must be fully upgraded. Okay, but I'm not the jungler. If a player that is not the jungler kills the red, brown, black, or the blue sentinel, but the jungler's smite is fully upgraded, then a buff wisp will still drop. But it will only be visible to the allied jungler, but will still remain for 1 minute. Okay, so if you kill it, then only the jungler can pick it up. This is totally fine. So they do remove this passive from Ivern, which does feel a little bit bad, but at the end of the day, I do still think that it is fine. Okay, Clash Bandle City Cup is going to be starting. Week 1 registration begins on May 29th, which doesn't make any sense because that was yesterday. I don't even understand why this is in a patch notes that comes out later. A weekend 1 tournament is June 3rd. And then we have the upcoming skins and chromas, which is obviously the DRX skins, which are all amazing. This is by far and away the best skin line that has ever been released. This is easily the best skin line for a World Championship team that has ever been released. If you're not getting these skins, you're doing something wrong. And honestly, I don't even know. Now, Kingen gets the Prestige Aatrox skin, I think because he got MVP, right? I don't know why Aatrox is, like, biting his lip. I'm not really sure what's going on there. You know, I do think that's a little bit... And maybe he's got a date with Soraka. You know, he is on the roof or something. You know, maybe he's about to. He's not about to just be the world ender. You know what I mean? Like, holy, New Capenna and Ob Nixilis about to get put to shame as this demon is about to do something else. But you know, I mean, I think that's what's going on. So that is pretty much it. Now, other stuff that is going on with 1311. If you guys were watching my stream, I am doing the 1311 Summer Competitive tier list, the thing that I usually do annually. Didn't do it for MSI this year because I just thought that the meta really just did not change too much in between spring. And so I am doing it for summer. And some of the pro players that I have for that are, I have Inspired for jungle. We have Sven from C9 for support. We have Whippo from top lane. We have a former Korean world champion for an unnamed role that will be discussed in the video once it ends up going live. Hopefully all the recording for that is done later today, and then that video should come out in a day or two on the main LS YouTube channel. But I think that is pretty much it. And then I know a lot of people have asked about Patron because there was no update on 1310 because there was just too much to unpack with 1310. There was too many things going on. So 1311 will just have the updated stuff, and there will just be another video going over the overhauled patch with all of the changes and stuff. So that is pretty much it. So I will see you guys in the next patch rundown, and subscribe to FlyQuest LoL YouTube channel. See you later. Bye-bye.